There's a lot of sweeping going on here in New York. Lots of dirt, just junk, trash. But I don't complain about it. Getting 40 hours a week. Every week, well, except vacation. Look forward to that. Then there's a lot of overtime. Parades and events, you know, St. Patty's Day and Macy's. Well, New Year's Eve at Rockefeller Square. But I guess my favorite time of year would be right about now, Christmas. Even the Christmas parade and all the stuff that's on the street. People going and back and forth. It's not bad. Well, let me introduce myself. Your pastor couldn't be here this morning. My name is Chester. Been sweeping the streets here in New York for a long time. Thought I'd share my story with you if you don't mind. You see, times have been tough. We grew up and, the Great Depression hit. It was 1929, October. Stock market crash. People thought the end of the world had happened. There were people jumping out the top of buildings, taking their own lives because everything they owned was lost. It was tough times. 1931, some of the major banks around the nation collapsed. Matter of fact, one bank here in town had over $200 million in assets gone. Within the next year, over 3.5 million people in the United States were unemployed. Which just here in New York alone, there were over 6,000 selling apples on the street corner for a nickel apiece. I was one of those. Barely getting by. It was during that time that we'd stopped over at the old Union Gospel Mission a few times for hot soup, some bread. Of course, you had to hear the preacher first, Boy, it was tough times back in then. FDR, President Roosevelt, he was elected in about 1933, and he started to do the CCC. It was a group of boys, 17 to 27 years old. At one time, over 500,000 along the United States was put to work. They worked in the forestry and the lands that were owned by the government. That sure helped a little bit. FDR got elected to the third term as president, unprecedented. But people liked his policy on war because he was supporting Britain, and Germany was all out coming after Britain, and Japan was getting in the mix. They sent a lot of money, a lot of funds, and even some of our boys to kind of help them out. But the big day came in December 1941. Japan came and bombed Pearl Harbor. What they didn't know, they were waking up a sleeping giant. Boys from all over, from the South to the East Coast and the West Coast, even us boys from New York, we all enlisted. Fought for our country. We fought Germany and Japan. Back home, our mamas and daddies were praying. Probably the Christian faith was at an all-time high because churches were full and people were praying all the time. It was hard to get word back, but sometimes word come back home that's one of the loved ones didn't make it. I know I lost my brother in the Battle of Iwo Jima. He was really the only family I had. My brother talked about God and religion before. He said that was mainly just for women and children. It took taking an atomic bomb to one on Nagasaki and the other on Hiroshima. And it finally got their attention. 1945, DJ Day, victory over Japan. They gave in. And boy, did we have parades here in town. Ticker tape parades. Boys coming back home from the war. Boy, it was a lot of work, a lot of overtime for us. I didn't mind because I went back to sweeping the streets again. And, the New York Housing Authority worked us a deal over on the Lower East Side. I got a room, $40 a month. Wasn't bad. But you know, I remember going back by that old gospel mission. There were still people hurting. Everything wasn't great. The economy kicked back in. Times were flourishing in a lot of areas, but there were some boys that were still hurt. Some had lost family, mamas and daddies. Their sons didn't come home. And there were some who came home. They were wounded and hurt, and people didn't accept it. Some of them just lived on the street. The old gospel mission, you could go there and get a bowl of hot soup and a piece of bread. The room was warm and the soup was hot. But you had to hear that preacher first. And I remember hearing that old time preacher. He talked about the little baby in the manger. And at first I remember what my brother said, that religion's just for women and children. But I heard that old preacher talk with such conviction and passion that I knew it was real. It was almost like it was personal for him. He just got it. Well, from time to time I'd go back. I kept my job, you know. Sometimes just sweeping down the street, I'd see a small nativity set in one of the storefront windows. And more than just decoration, my mind would go back to what the old time preacher said. I saw that passion in his heart as he talked about it. And men, grown men, some who have never been so down on their luck in their life before, were being changed. I wanted some of that. And even though things got a little better for me, and, well, job was pretty good. Got a little overtime. Finally had a little money in my pocket, not much. But just enough I could get by, and it was all right. You see, I'd already lost mom and dad. And my brother was my only family that was living until he got killed in the war. So I figured I'd just go back by the old mission, see if I could maybe help out. Really, truly, I wanted to hear more about the story. And it was more than now hot soup. It was a good story. And then that man began to talk about Jesus, the babe, and he would grow up as a young boy, perfect, with no sin and no problems in his life. Till he turned 30. And at 30, he began his own ministry. Kind of like a gospel mission, helping the poor and the needy. There were people that were sick and he healed them. Some were just down on their luck and he helped them out. Some had even died. And he brought them back to life. Heard that old time preacher just speak with such conviction. And something inside my system in my heart began to become tender. Maybe I'd seen too much in the war. Maybe I'd heard too much from these people here in New York, and sometimes they're not the most pleasant people. But during that time, I heard that old time preacher just speak, and my heart softened. He talked about this Jesus that would grow, and finally, after he helped people, they took this Jesus and they crucified him on a cross. You mean this baby that was born and put in the manger and nobody wanted, and shepherds and angels and wise men come to see? I remember that story well. But now they put him on a cross. What did he do wrong? I know a lot of people in New York's done worse than he did. They didn't do anything to them. They put him on a cross. Killed him right there. You know, they put him in the grave like they should. Proper burial. But that old time preacher said, 3 days later, he's out of the grave. And that just proves to me he's really God. He just wasn't a good boy. Just like the old preacher said. He's the Son of God. So late one night, I stayed by at the gospel mission. And I said, "Preacher, I want to talk about it." He said, "I figured you had. You've been here enough, and I can see a change in your eyes. I see something's going on." So late that night, I prayed with him. a simple prayer. Oh God, I'm a sinner, and oh God, I'm sorry. Come into my heart, my life, forgive me of all my mess. Save this old soul. And you know what? He did. Oh, I still work. I still got the same job. Do well, and some days I don't do as best as I should. But it's all right. For you see, He's in here now. Times have been tough, and well, I'm sure they will be again. But this time I'll go through a little different look, because I know who's in me. For you see, my story has been fictitious this morning. But the truth of the gospel that I shared is still true. That Jesus still saves people. Whether you're in an old gospel mission or sitting in a church on Mill Street in Louisville, Texas. He will save your soul. He will prevent you from going to hell and provide a place for you in heaven. He will also mend broken hearts. The storyline, for some of you perhaps lived as a portion of the Great Depression. For many of us, we're the baby boomers in the next generation or 2 or 3 after. We've never faced what many of you faced. But we have faced hard times in our own way. Some of you in this room, you have an issue with family, and you've done well. You have covered it up very good. Yours may not be a costume for a play. Yours may be a costume for church. And you've put on a great front. But down deep in your heart, you know there is an emptiness, a loneliness, and a hurting. And you've looked for answers. And they are not there outside of Jesus and Jesus alone. He is the answer to your life. To save your soul, to change your life, to heal brokenness. Some of you in this audience, you love the Lord all your life. This is just another day in the life of church, and you've been blessed. Thank you for being faithful. But for some of you, you just know the story, and you just know just enough that's going to cause trouble later on. You say, well, I had enough religion. Yeah. I knew a little bit about the Bible. Sure. But until you know the person of the Bible personally, until you have Him in your heart personally, then you are lost and without hope. And if sudden tragedy struck your life and there was nothing left, the end of life happened for you, you would stand before a holy and a righteous God. Why would I let you into my heaven, He would ask. And what answer would you give? You attended a church on Christmas time. You were good to family. You worked hard. You even attempted to read the Bible. And all that will fall on deaf ears. He will say, depart from me, for I never knew you. Unless you said like this, why should I let you into my heaven? And you would say, sir, because I have Jesus, your Son, in my heart. And then you will hear those ominous words, welcome home, my child. And He will welcome you in. I promise you, on the authority of God's word, I promise you it happens. But I can't make it happen for you. That's your human choice, your volition, the human will, the freedom to say yes or no. The best decision you can have is to say yes to Jesus. Never tell Him no. Because He has your best always in His heart. Let me pray. Our God in heaven, there are some in this audience today that truly need a touch from you. They need to be saved, born again into the family of God. For some, today they are broken, inside, down deep, that no one else knows about. But you do. They can fool me, O Lord, but they cannot fool you. I pray that today they would come to you broken and empty, and you put the pieces together and fill their heart and their life with your goodness. Bless them and help them. Lord, for some today, they love you, they know you, and they're growing and sometimes struggling every day, but God bless them. Thank you. Bless them. And for that family that needs to be a part of this church family, I pray they do that today as well. What a great Christmas gift to the church, for them to become a part of the family of God that meets here. Bless us at this time. Amen.